Good morning, everyone. So nice to see everyone today. Hello, everyone online. Welcome to the 2024 Adjunct and Field Instructor Appreciation Breakfast. My name is Nicole Parker. I serve as the, what is my title? Who am I? I'm the Assistant Dean for Field Education and External Relations at the Mendel School of Applied Social Sciences at Case. It's a pleasure to be here today with you all. On behalf of the Field Education Department and the Office of Academic Affairs, we're just so happy to have you here with us today and to celebrate all of you. This is our favorite event of the year. Just for the people in the room today, just curious, how many of you are adjunct instructors? Raise your hand. Real high. Okay, yes, all right. And how many of you are field instructors? Yes, all right. And how many of you serve as both? All right, wonderful, thank you. Thanks so much for being here today. For those of you in the room, just a couple of housekeeping items. We have the restrooms out the doors to the left. Hopefully you all found parking okay, and if you parked with at a meter and you have some quarters, feel free to go ahead and go out to your car and feed the meter as appropriate. There'll be food here throughout the duration of our program, and we are going to start with a training that's going to be an incredible training. It's a new, innovative training. I hope you're all very excited for that. For those of you online, welcome. We ask that you're going to be muted for the duration of this training, but you are more than welcome to share your thoughts in the chat, and then we will go ahead and relay those messages throughout the presentation. Please, everybody, just make yourself comfortable. We're happy to have you here. This training, let's see. After the training, we are going to celebrate you all with 3 distinct awards. One of them is the John A. Yankee Part-Time Outstanding Instructor of the Year Award. The second one is the Outstanding Practicum Organization of the Year Award. And then the last one is the Outstanding Field Instructor of the Year Award. So stay tuned. That's the real fun part. So are you guys all ready for an incredible training? Yes. Well, I didn't hear you. Yes. All right. All right. Me too. So this is going to be so great. I'm really excited about this. It is my pleasure to introduce Braveheart Galani. Braveheart is a systems engineer and community-based social work researcher and scholar. Braveheart is a current candidate for a PhD in social welfare here at the Mendel School. And also, he has one of the largest hearts that I know. Please welcome Braveheart to the podium.
Good morning. How are we doing? Wonderful. You guys hear me? Yeah, I'm gonna do that in just a second. Give me a second, I'm gonna switch over to my slides and we'll start rolling. Might need your help in getting it up on the screen. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Braveheart, and it is really an honor to be here with you guys today. You know, I was thinking about how to get started in our conversation. And I think it's really important for us as social workers to recognize the value of y'all as adjunct faculty and as field instructors. Like, y'all are the sages of our time, right? You help the young social workers come in and figure out what we're doing. So I just wanted to start our entire conversation by saying thank you. Y'all are just wonderful. So thank you very much. And I'll give us a little bit of introduction on what we're gonna be doing, but let us start our conversation with a land acknowledgement and pledge. Julianne, would you be willing to read that for us, please? Or you can read it right here, yeah.
Today, we acknowledge the truth of the history of settler colonism, white supremacy, and land theft that shapes the realities of marginalization and exclusion in America today. We will be holding this conversation on the traditional homeland of the Lenape, Delaware, Shawnee, Wyandotte, Miami, Ottawa, and other tribes of the Great Lakes. I invite us to all strive for a more inclusive and equitable future in our communities, including for the descendants of those who originally stewarded this land.
Thank you. Thank you, Julianne. And so let us get started with our conversation. So we're going to be talking in general around the use of artificial intelligence, or AI, and its application within social work in all the aspects, right? And so as we get started, I'd love to see how many of y'all use AI in your lives today, if I could get a raise of hands. Great. All right, so maybe like 15% of our population here? We might learn something about ourselves. Do you use generative AI in your life today? All right, so I counted 2 hands, maybe 3. Wonderful, wonderful. And do you believe AI can be a supportive tool for social workers? Wonderful, wow, I love this audience. Yay. So that is just fabulous, right? And we're gonna step into the conversation and talk about the ethical implications, but also some of the beauties and the ways we can use AI and access. Like, I'll give you a lot of tools that we can use. However, we have to think about the larger context of AI. And I'll bring that up as we talk. So, let me please hear some reactions when you see this image. What comes up for you? And feel free to raise your hand. There are folks walking around with a mic. When you see this image, what do you think? Weird. Would you be willing to say more? There's a mic right there.
Just what the picture shows. 2 robots and looks like a middle-aged woman and doing something detailed, and it's interesting.
Yeah. Got it. Wonderful. Thank you. One more image. And for the folks, to describe it, it looks like a garden place, folks are playing, and there are robots as part of the conversation. What does that bring for us?
Nicole from online says that looks unpersonal.
Unpersonal. That's right. Thank you, Nicole. Anything else that comes up? Futuristic. Wow.
Something bad is going to happen.
Something bad is going to happen. So we're coming to our feelings already. Wonderful. We'll go with one more image. What comes up? Sorry?
Reminds me of Terminator.
Yeah.
I said Skynet. It reminds me of Terminator. They look very menacing.
Yes. What else? So menacing, perhaps fear, right? What else comes up?
Nicole said that is terrifying, and Natalie said dominance.
Dominance and terrifying.
And we also have scary, iRobot, and the takeover.
iRobot and the takeover. So these are several of the narratives that are present in society currently around what AI can do, right? Like these images are generated by AI. When I asked AI to generate images about perceptions of AI in the society, that's what it generated. So something for us to think about, yeah? And so perhaps I can get just a little bit more engagement from us and say, what are the feelings that come up for us when we think about AI? What are some of the feeling words that we all like to use so much?
Skeptical.
Skeptical. Did I hear excited? Okay. Nervous. Supported. right? So we have a whole variety of emotions, and they're all okay. So I like to read poetry a lot. And Rumi, right, the amazing mystic poet, he says, out beyond the idea of right doing and wrong doing, there is a field, and I'll meet you there. And so he's inviting us into this idea of playfulness. And so that's what I request from us over the next few minutes that we're together. Let us play, right? Like, let's just not jump into here with too many judgments. We all have judgments. But what if we just play with this idea of AI and see how it can be useful to us, right? That's the request. And please remember, like, all of this is my experience and perception of AI. So I am not representing MSAS in this moment or case, right? This is how a student or someone who's just been playing with AI for a while wants to offer it to you. So what we're going to do over the next hour and 15 minutes or so is discover the delightful dynamics, as I call, and the dangers of generative AI. We're going to talk about some of the ethical problems of AI and how can we misuse it to harm ourselves. And this is all within the umbrella of social work. And then we'll play. I will do some online virtual training for us, and we'll play with it together. You'll give me prompts, and we'll see what it generates for us, right? So at the highest level, what is AI, right? And what is generative AI? So AI has been around for a very, very, very long time. So some of us remember, so I used to be a gamer in my early days, and I used to like play against the computer, right? Many of us have done that. That is AI at that time. The big technological distinction or the step change that has happened is that now you and I can actually get access to AI and talk to it in regular language, like a chatbot. That's the really big distinction. Larger companies have been using AI forever and ever. So it's really an access conversation rather than a technological development conversation. What generative AI does, so generative AI is when it's generating text, images, poems, all that kind of stuff, right? And what it's doing is it's really just predictive development. So it has all the internet on the data, all the data on the internet, and it's predicting what is the next word that you want it to produce, and it's producing that. That's really what generative AI, at its deepest core, is doing. And then, we often get a question of, do I really need to use AI? I've been doing fine without it. We as social workers have been fine without it. But if we just look at these, right? How many of us have used Google Maps, right? Or some form of that. We use Google Translate all the time, right? Think about Uber Eats. I was on Netflix the other day, and it told me exactly what I wanted to watch next, and it was right. It was 100% right, And so there's a relationship happening between the Netflix AI and me, and it understands me. And so what I offer is, we've been using AI already. And so then let's just use it for the welfare of our clients, and for the welfare of our profession, and for the welfare of our students, rather than not, right? That's the offer. And so here is where we're using AI in our current lives. So we're using it all the time in our smartphones, in our social media, our Google search. You guys all have that spam inbox in your Gmail or in your email, where it already knows what is a spammy email, right? Just removes that. That is AI that's doing that. Have y'all noticed as you're writing your email now, it sometimes predicts what you want to write? It's already populated? Yeah? That's generative AI. So it's already doing that. What are some other options? Our calendars, Canvas, Blackboard management. We use a lot of, in research, we use a lot of coding tools. It can do that. So there's a lot of really important usage that is already happening in our current lives. So this is one thing, and of course, y'all will have these slides. This is something I wanted to share specifically. It can be useful for students. In my opinion, it's a great tool for supporting access, right? One of the issues is when so I've taught a couple of classes, and what I experience is there's a vast difference in how students have been trained in how to write, right, academically. There's a vast difference. Like, what schools are we coming from? Who are we trained by? How much private tutoring did we get or not, right? So this is, you can have a paid version, you can have a free version. It's a plugin, and it offers, so it's like Microsoft spell check, but 10 times better, right? So it's really helping students in bridging that gap. It's personally helped me in my PhD journey in improving my writing. It's what I would have sent it to a tutor, gotten feedback, gotten iterations in my writing, and I could do it with this program, right? So it's an access tool. Moving forward. So one thing we want to think about is AI is not always going to be right or helpful. This is a program. It doesn't have what I'm referring to as sentience, right? It doesn't have intelligence. But that's because it's a baby right now. It's in its developmental stage. Like, if we think back to when the internet was starting to develop, right? We were all so afraid of all the harmful things the internet was going to do. And many of those harmful things actually did happen. And we found a lot of useful cases for the internet too. So what I'm offering, that is similar for AI. It's in its infancy stages. There will be times when it'll mess up. One example of a mess up, and I'll show you several more, but one example is when you ask it for some like academic research, right? Very often it'll make up citations, like straight up make a paper, right? And it's referred to as hallucinations. And that is true. It's doing that because we haven't been able to develop those guidelines or framework yet to contain it. So, good things and bad things, right? All are part of it. And then our responsibility then to our clients then is how are we first learning about it, and then how are we supporting them in it? Because what I offer is the future is going to be deeply embedded with AI. It's here. We cannot go back. I'm going to stop over here and see if there are any questions, thoughts, concerns that are coming up. And open to online as well as in person. What do you think so far?
So one of the questions I have, you said that it helps you with your writing. And I think that when I experience AI writing, unless I'm very intentional, I'm not learning. You know what I mean? It's producing something for me. I'm happy. go, let's go with that. I don't know that. I think it takes a very intentional practice to say, oh, let me reflect on what AI created based on my thoughts, and then internalize that and use that going forward for yourself. So
absolutely, I 1000% agree with you. And that's part of as a society, we have taken away that reflection piece for ourselves, and that is now being integrated. So I'll give another example. Khan Academies, right? Started by Sal Khan. It now has an AI. So that was a big problem that started initially. Students were just plugging in their homework and getting the answers, and it was really hard to discern. And now Khan Academy has an AI bot that helps a student learn through the Socratic method. So when I ask I don't know, what is 17 plus 45? It will walk me through the process of adding rather than just pop out the answer. And so we're learning, but yeah, you are absolutely right. It definitely takes a practice.
Yeah, that was my thought as well when you showed Grammarly. And it's one thing to have AI to support a student's writing. And then the next step is writing with a student. And then the next step is writing for a student. And it's hard to discern when you've crossed those lines because, right, and it's hard for us then to be able to figure out what is writing for the student rather than the student using it to support them. So,
100%.
And the example you gave about it generating citations out of thin air, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how would I know that, right? You don't know what it's doing is reliable. And so I think that's the fear of being able to contain it to do what we want and not anything more.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm in full agreement, right? It is the wild, wild west in many, many ways right now. Totally. And that's why one of the requests right now, and this is a global request, is to develop a framework for AI. So OpenAI last year made more money than 17 developing nations combined, right? So like there is a lot of money being put into there. It's like blowing up. And so our work is to develop a framework fully, and that'll take time. And we must be cognizant in what's happening so that we know when these things are happening. More often than not, we don't even know what's being produced, right? The black box thinking. Any other questions or comments?
So I've loved everything you've shared so far, and I'm just curious if you could give a few tangible examples in your everyday life, in your week, as your life as a student, an instructor. What are some examples of ways you're using it in your everyday life with, and specifically, like, are you using plugins or Chat GPT? Like, do you mind going a little deeper?
I don't mind. That's the rest of the conversation. So just hang on just for a few minutes, and I have a bunch of tools pulled up as well. So depending on the time and interest of the audience, we can engage in those as well. So thank you, Catherine.
And my question is to comments, because I know some of my students are telling me they're paying for ChatGPT, so that ChatGPT can summarize a PDF for them. And I thought that's great, right? But then also when I say that, others will say then you don't really learn because you are not reading it. So I just want to know, if you are in the academic world, what do you think about those functions?
Yeah, thank you. It's a real thing I battle with all the time. So the thing is, the capacity of summarizing of these large language models is the same as the capacity of an average person. You know, it's not profoundly deep, I would offer, right? So if I want to learn deeply about something, I should definitely read the paper. But I find when I'm reading, when I have to find some general information about a topic and I need to read 40 papers in a day, I don't have the capacity to do that. And if AI can summarize, give me the abstract or something, it tells me where should I go in deeper. It just directs me in that direction, right? So I think again, it's like yes and. It's yes and. It's definitely a tool, but it's not the way to do things, right? Yeah. Any other, Julianne, any questions online? Wonderful, thank you. So, Catherine, based on your wonderful question, we're going to go in 4 different case studies or examples of how we use it. But let me give us a little bit of an architecture of what am I actually talking about. So there are different algorithms, basically, which are called large language models, which are what we are referring to as AI. So these are different algorithms. And what I mean when I say that is if I ask them the same question, they would all produce a different answer, right? And these are run by different companies. These are all huge enterprises. And now these are what I call applications. So when we talk about ChatGPT or GPT-4, that's an application. And I'll show you some other applications, right? These are they're basically like apps on your phone. So and the large language models are more like the processors, right? So when you are looking at, what should I invest in or what should I think about? What we as practitioners or scholars want to look at is what is defined for me, right? What has been narrowly set up for me so that I can do my work with most efficiency. And it's already taking into consideration things I need to work at. So I'll give us an example. This is an app that helps therapists create notes, client notes, right? It's HIPAA approved, and there are several more. Like, I'm not advertising for these folks, right? This is just one that I've used. It's HIPAA approved. It helps us formulate. It asks you specific questions, right? And then it develops like a template, and then it pulls out these case notes. And then, of course, we remember we are the ones who are responsible for it, right? So we have to review it. We have to make sure it aligns with our perception. But it goes in DSM and like pulls out the codes that it thinks apply. Then you can check, right? Helpful? Perhaps. So, let us all acknowledge then the elephant in the room. It's terrifying. If AI can do this, then why am I here, right? Why have I spent all this time if like the computer can pull something, which might be really hard to discern if it's me or the computer. Like it's truly terrifying. It is. And I offer, it is never going to be as good as a human being in building relationships, in like loving each other, in caring for each other, right? Like that's what our work is as social workers. So my hope is that AI can like take care of all the minutia, the stuff that takes away our time and energy from our clients, so that we can show up more fully for the students, for the clients, within our relationships. I am wondering at this time in the room, what are some more fears around AI?
So we as a society have this habit of piling more and more and more on. So my fear is that with AI, we'll just continue to add and become more burnt out and more stressed because we're adding more.
Yeah. There's a, thank you, what's your name?
Chelsea Fudge.
Thank you, Chelsea. Yeah, I deeply resonate with you, right? And in this capitalistic society, that is unfortunately the tendency. So I have been in a few conversations, specifically within Nordic countries, where the idea is you're still going to have the same amount of work to do. You're using AI, that's fine. We're not going to increase the workload. So for example, and unfortunately, that's not the conversation in the US, right? But I offer that to say there is hope for us. And like within our organizations, perhaps that's something a code of ethics we develop, right? That yes, for example, we're going to take meeting notes through AI so that someone doesn't have to spend an hour transcribing them. But we're not going to like increase work just because we don't, the meeting notes got more efficient. So that is more of a personal decision, I feel, or a community decision. And I recognize your fear. I also have that fear.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Trisha.
Hi.
My concern is more client-based.
Yeah.
I work with, college-age students, and I've had on more than one occasion several come in to talk at the counseling center and say, well, I was trying to do therapy with ChatGPT, but it wasn't working.
Yeah.
And so I'm just concerned with, these are developing minds. I'm thinking middle school, high school, undergraduate age. If they're getting advice from a computer, I don't know what kind of advice that is, and it worries me for the generations coming up.
Yes. It worries me also, Trisha, like truly concerned about that. And I'll show y'all in a couple of slides, I have some newspaper articles in how AI generated like terrible advice. Like as clinicians, we would never give that advice. And if you give that to a young person, right, like there are consequences to that. I also know a dear friend, personal friend, experiences schizophrenia, really difficult life. And when she's lonely at 2 a.m. and has no one to talk to, previously she would just sit and be lonely in her room, right? And difficult thoughts in the mind. And she's now made an AI friend named Replica. It's a tool, and there are multiple more available, they're not perfect, but they are trained to walk someone down from difficult thoughts, different, suicidal ideation almost. So I deeply relate, and sometimes, there's good and bad. And the other thing I've been thinking about in this context is around access. So I love therapy. I hope to be in therapy for the rest of my life, right? And I know so many in my community who will never be able to access therapy as we see it today because it's too expensive, right? Like even the copay is too much. And if they're getting a little bit of support, and we can do a demo of that if you want, I don't know. Is it something better than nothing? So I wrestle with that. I wrestle with that.
My concern is just, I think the best of us can struggle with documentation. And when you're helping develop a student or a young therapist, that they're not going through some of that stress and anxiety and learning how to face that. And that this is a way of kind of subverting some of that professional growth and development, because communication is a basic tool that we use all the time, and written skill and writing skills are a key part of that communication skill set.
Yeah. So you're saying, I'm sorry, what's your name, sir? Ryan. So you're thinking that since they'll use ChatGPT all the time or whatever, a AI generation tool, and so they will themselves never develop the skills to write well and to communicate well. Is that right? I think that is a concern, truly. And I think in the future there's going to be so much AI generated text everywhere, like we'll be able to discern really easily. And the skill then is not generating the text in the proper syntax or grammar, but is to generate the ideas and truly say what you are. Like even today, when I look at AI generated text, I can discern, like, did AI just generate it, or did someone give it the ideas? If that's discernible. And we're developing more tools for that as well. And I can show you those tools also. Yeah. A true concern for me too. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes. Go ahead. Sorry.
So I kind of want to piggyback off of what Ryan said. There is a concern for developing social workers, and then also social workers who aspire to be psychotherapists, and those are two different roles. But I think overall, my concern is how AI is going to affect the root of our community. Social workers were rooted in the community, and we work with people. This is a profession that is centered around people. So that whole person-to-person element, I am concerned about how AI is going to affect developing social workers with really being able to relate to people on just a simple person level, and just being comfortable being in the community, because regardless if you are a caseworker, a community worker, or if you aspire to be a psychotherapist, your responsibility is still to the community. So you need to be in the community and understand the landscape of people and how AI and all of these other things that are happening in the world are affecting the community, and then how that translates to whatever professional environment you actually are working in. So that's my concern.
Totally. And I'm sorry, I don't think I caught your name.
My name is Michelle Frierson.
Thank you, Michelle. How do you think AI comes in the way of social workers getting in the community and developing, empathy and people skills? How do you think it gets there?
Well, I think it's a number of different things. I look really young, but I'm actually a little older. I think that this generation, they're just bogged down with electronics. And so being in the community, being distracted by your phone, having the computer. And when Chelsea and I graduated, they wanted us to, we were supposed to do our case notes in session with clients or in appointments with clients. But we have to take all of these electronic devices out of the way and really be in the community. So if you're placed in a community center, if you're going into someone's home, we need to understand that we have to strip all of those things down, because we're still modeling to people how to experience being a person, whether it is through technology, whether they're struggling with disassociating, whatever it is. So we have to be able to strip all of those things away and model to them how to experience themselves in their environment by experiencing ourselves in their environment and showing them how to do that.
Michelle, I 100% agree. I totally agree. AI and electronics are getting in the way, and I have no response to that. Your mic drop moment over there. Yeah, totally. Yes, Julie.
We have a few comments online. We have Liat, the dumbing down of self, no longer thinking. And Nicole made a few comments here that we will lose the personalization in our practice, and also that we will utilize this to gain knowledge rather than actually learning. And also, she also worries about the humanity in the world. If young people are utilizing AI for so many social and emotional things, how will society learn to be around each other? And that we can't have a computer in front of us when we're trying to reach a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that and understand. My thought was, for the people in this room and or like us, we've gone the long way around, right? We've done it, we're experienced, we know how to do it because we've been doing it. When I think of AI, and I'm somewhat cynical about it, but I'm trying to appreciate the value that it would bring. So I'm always fighting that tension within myself. But when I think about AI, I think of it as a shortcut, right? It's not the long way around. It's a shortcut. It's something that's expedient, it's easy, it's convenient, it's going to get me where I need to go quicker. It's a way for me to resolve this tension between clinical practice and compliance by summarizing my notes more quickly. But we've all gone the long way around and dealt with that and been able to balance between those two tensions. And so for a younger generation, they may not take the long way around. They may see the shortcut as the route. And I think that's part of the fear.
Yeah.
Is how then do we take them all the way around to learn how to do it before then you can practice this kind of technology in order to enhance your practice.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
100%. And I think that all of the fears stated are real and true, right? Like there is fully acknowledge that there is this fear of loss of humanity, fear of loss of, if I talk to my computer all the time, I wouldn't know how to make real eye contact and, fully show up as my full being around you and show up as a human and, 100% agreeing to all of it. And what I'm saying is, it is here. Right? Like, I recognize the fear, and it is here. And so what I'm requesting us is not adopt it fully, but let's play with it. Let's just think about it to see if it can serve us in a little bit. Yes?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's a both and, right?
Yes.
I was thinking about when I first started implementing DBT, there's
Yes.
skills training. And a lot of therapists were like, do you think I'm not doing my job? And I was like, no, it's going to actually make your job easier, right? We're going to teach clients skills, and so you could actually do therapy. And so for me, I think it's what you were saying, it's going to increase access, but I also think it can increase adherence to these evidence-based treatment models, right? I send a client one place for skills training, it might be very different than at another organization.
That's right.
Where it can be standardized.
100%. That's it. And what's your name? I'm sorry.
Samantha?
Thank you, Samantha. Yeah. Savannah, is that right? Did I hear your name?
Samantha.
Samantha. Thank you, Samantha. Do you want to come up here and do the rest of the presentation? I'm good with that.
You actually made me, you've kind of converted me, because initially I have a lot of fear, and I didn't realize how much of AI I'm actually using. Right? And so how different is it than when I first started doing therapy, I would be watching training videos?
Yes.
How is that any different than Chat GPI?
That's right. That's right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. So I do claim to be an AI evangelist. That is not me, but I will try. I will try. So I'm wondering at this point, and I'll take a show of hands in what the folks want. I can show us a couple of case studies or ways in which I have actually used GPT, and we can see how that fits for us. Or I can talk a little bit more around so general idea, these large language models are built on data from our society, right? And if we know that we're in a white supremacist, racist, patriarchal, hegemonic society, then there are some problems in what the data is trained on. And so I can talk about some of those problems as well. So yeah, I'm wondering about raise of hands. Do you want to hear a little bit more about the grim side? Oh, okay, I see a hand in the back. Okay, all right. One hand. Option two. Two. Okay, so you want to talk about some of the darker sides? Wonderful, wonderful. We can do that. Thank you. Thanks for naming what you want. So, generative AI was developed within, as I said, this white supremacist capitalistic culture. And so that's what very often we're going to get. You know, when I ask GPT-4, tell me the story of an immigrant moving to the US, it produces a complete, like I would call it a racist, hegemonic, white supremacist story of someone from Africa, totally devastated, coming and like suffering in the US. That's not the only story, right? There are multitudes of stories, but it just picked up one story from one place and gave it to me. So if that's the only way I'm using to learn my life, I'm in trouble, right? So just acknowledging these robots are often becoming racist and sexist. A few more examples, right, of the problematic nature of the large language models today. So as you can, these are all screenshots of news articles. So as you can see, face recognition made really, really easy with AI. And you can see where that goes in a racist society, right? You can see who gets targeted more or less. For the longest time, AI face recognition could not distinguish between people of like darker skin tones, right? So really, really problematic stuff because of founder's effect. Trying to change it, but it's going to take a very, very long time. The next screenshot, a wellness chatbot is offline after harmful focus on weight loss. So we as therapists would never do that, right? But here it is, talking about just calorie in, calorie out, rather than the holistic well-being of the individual. Few other problematic things, and these are just the tip of the iceberg, right? So, without guidelines, AI is straight up racist. That's a Braveheart perspective. MSAS is not saying it, Case isn't saying it. I'm telling you, AI is completely racist. This book that Rua Benjamin's Race After Technology actually speaks of this, and how like, really lovely book. She was actually here, the speaker last year at Case, and she's talking about how AI is increasing access gaps rather than decreasing, right? Because again, let's talk about it. Who is learning about AI right now? Is that being taught in our communities? No. Like that, again, that itself is a specific niche, right? So data bias, facial recognition errors, targeted surveillance, definitely happening. Talk about inequitable healthcare. Currently, so all the big five, so the major accounting firms, when you send a resume to them or CV, it is not going to a human. It's going through AI first, instant, right? So AI speaking certain words and certain patterns, who's speaking, how speaking, it's going to be much harder to say AI was racist than to say, oh, like, you discriminated based on, you know, this trait of mine. So laws are going to change because of this, because we do want to like hold AI accountable. But overall, so I just want to be clear, there are pitfalls and harms that are going to come through AI, right? We just need to be aware and see how we can use it for the best of our field. I will move forward, and you guys can have this presentation. So here is the larger proclamation of how we can use AI in social work. Now I've broken it down into a few different things. So for practice in case management, it can be really helpful in our scheduling, in like reminding us what's needed, you know, like those really tangible tasks that take a lot of time. There can be resource allocation. There are specific mental health chatbots now. So they are trained on DBT. They're trained on motivational interviewing. They're trained on various skills. Will they replace us? Never, right? Like AI doesn't have empathy. We should be okay with that. But it does know how to attune with me. When I'm stressed, it can like offer me suggestions like go for a walk, drink a glass of water. Helpful sometimes, right? And it's helpful in data gathering or support. So we, when as therapists, when we are looking at our entire case file, like what are the patterns that have been coming up for this one person? AI can help me identify that. It can do those really basic analyses. Let's stop over here again and open for questions. Yeah.
So this room, spans more than one generation. We've talked about going the long way around, shortcuts. I think we sometimes forget that before all of this, we used encyclopedias to do research, and then, things got online, so we do our research online. I think as a profession, though, we need to recognize that it's here, right? It's not going anywhere. And just like, how do we keep it within certain guidelines? Is a bigger thing.
Right.
So just want to put that out
I forgot your name again.
I'm Chelsea.
Chelsea, I'm so sorry, I forgot your name. Totally. And how are we in the rooms that are making the decisions about these?
Exactly.
Right? Like, that's what I want us to do. And that's why, we need to be comfortable with it at some level. Like, be able to speak the language, right? Yes.
Oh, that would not be helpful. No, that's, I'm Megan. That was kind of my question, or thoughts around it, is really like the ethics of it, which we've talked about this entirety of the time, so thank you. But just, to me, that kind of the nervousness I feel is, like, we have our code of ethics that we have to follow.
Yeah.
How does that play into this, and what are those guidelines? Who makes those decisions? How are we at the table to do all of that, and how do we move that going forward?
Yes. So, based on my latest knowledge, so NASW is working on guidelines for social work. They're not out yet, but it's a real conversation in many, many, many professions. So American Society of Mechanical Engineers, for example, they're working on their own guidelines. Electrical engineers, they're working on their guidelines, right? Because we're not the only ones who are struggling with this existential angst of, if AI is doing all this, what am I doing? Like, think about engineers, think about pilots, think about, right? Like, they're all worried about the same issue, about how do we contain this beast at some level, right? So yeah, definitely. Julianne, anything online? Wonderful. Okay, so do we feel like we are ready to see a couple of examples and then play? Wonderful, wonderful. So here is my equity proposal to you guys. So this is my beloved dog. Her name is Rosie. And so this is a screenshot straight from ChatGPT. And I used GPT-4, right? And I said, can you please describe this image to me? And I'm thinking about times, so I'll give you two specific examples. So for our faculty, when we are making our slides accessible for all, and we want to describe every image, right? And then for our practitioners, when we are looking at folks who are struggling with translation of image to words, in whatever it might be, yeah? So let's see what it produced. Julianne, would you be willing to read the response? Are you ready?
This image shows a man and his dog sitting at an outdoor cafe. The man has a beard and is wearing headphones around his neck. He is smiling and taking a selfie with the dog, who appears to be small, elderly golden spaniel with a happy expression. They are sitting at a metal table, and next to them is a cup of coffee with the decorative sprinkle on top. In the background, you can see a blackboard sign with menu items written in colorful chalk, suggesting a casual, friendly cafe environment. The setting appears to be sunny and pleasant.
Right. And again, how does that feel with our morals and ethics, though, that happened? Does that bother us in some way? Right. Thank you. I just wanted to show you my dog. Everything else is just bonus. So, I'm sorry, say that again. She is elderly, though. So, I looked, then I was thinking about, for us, right, as a group, I said, this is my prompt to GPT. I said, I'm a mental health therapist looking to streamline my process for writing client notes. Could you help me by developing a standard format That could include sections for current diagnoses and future plans. I'm imagining that's something many of us would think of. And so this is what GPT produced for me. So it said, here's a template you might find helpful, blah, blah, gives me this little template, right? That could be helpful for us. We would have a little template, and then we could fill in the data. So I'm wondering if the room at this moment feels adventurous enough that I just show you all some GPT-4 and we do something together so that I remove that one barrier. Does the room feel okay to do that? All right. Are you guys excited? All right. Might need some technical support over here in getting the screen up. Thank you for your patience, y'all.
Let's reset it.
There you have it. Wonderful. So this is the interface of GPT-4. Many of you have used it. This is the paid version. I can show you many other options as well, right? And so what I'm suggesting we do is we go back to the template I just showed you. I'll have to jump online. But we go and we put in actual client, an example client for us and see what it does. And we as a room can decide, is this helpful for us? Not. I'm going to jump online. All right, there you have it. So GPT-4 today can save memory. So all the chats that I've had with it, unless I specifically delete them, they'll be present. So this is what I just showed you guys, right? The template for a client. Yes? And so I'm wondering, would someone be willing to play with me and offer me, please tell me about like a client you have, a generic client, and see what GPT-4 can do. Yes? You'll be able to, thank you. Thank you for being willing to play.
Okay, so what?
So tell me about the demographics of, like you had a session with a client.
Okay.
And tell me about the demographics. What did you observe?
Okay. So I just wrapped up a session with a 21-year-old African-American female.
Okay.
Who was recently diagnosed with conversion disorder.
Conversion, okay. Keep on talking. I'm just trying to get online.
Okay.
But I listen to you, yeah.
So she was recently diagnosed with conversion disorder.
Uh-huh.
And she is having some academic challenges.
Okay.
And she is also feeling stressed about issues with her childcare provider.
Okay. I'm sorry if I forget some of the traits, right?
No, that's okay.
Did you say conversion disorder?
Yep, she was recently diagnosed with conversion disorder. And she's also experiencing stress due to academic challenges and childcare placement.
Yeah? Does this feel somewhat accurate?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, let us see. So, and this is us going together. And I'll scroll up.
Whoa. Whoa.
So, So I'm wondering what your experience, and I can scroll up for us to read, but I'm curious what your reactions are.
Oh, man.
But does it help me take better notes for my clients, like more detailed? Does it help me be more specific? You know, because I can go in and edit and make it.
Right, what you want, you can, personalize it.
Right,
to
exactly. But
the
does it
client.
help me get a decent start?
Yeah, man.
All right. My work is done, mic drop, I'm gonna leave. But, right, so this is the offering. This is the offering to think through with it, to play with it, right? That's the offering. So I'm gonna come back to my presentation. Does anyone else want to try? We have time for one more, if anyone else wants to try. No. Oh, yeah, please, go ahead.
14-year-old, highly suicidal,
Okay.
adolescent, engaging in parasuicidal behavior 2 times a day, 3 major suicide attempts starting at age 11.
Okay, all right. Would you mind slowing down just a little bit?
Sure.
So, 14-year-old.
3 major suicide attempts, first one at age 11. 2 by overdose, 1 by jumping out of a 3rd floor window, engaging in parasuicidal behavior 2 times a day.
So again, hang on one second. Events 226. Before I hit enter, I just want to remind us, right? Like this is a program. It would never have the wisdom that we would want our wonderful therapists to have, right? But it might be a good starting point. Just want to level set our expectations, because this is a pretty serious situation, yeah? So it first tells us that suicide is a pretty dangerous thing, right? So that's what this user situation warning is. Let's see what it does. So as you can see, it's providing us short-term goals around safety, crisis planning, increased supervision, long-term goals of reduced depressive symptoms and suicidal ideation. It's also offering us a treatment plan.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, right? It's offering the evidence-based treatment for such behaviors.
It totally is.
Wow.
It totally is. So, again, but I want us to remember, this is not the end-all be-all. This is a place for us to start, right? Like, OpenAI is the company that runs ChatGPT. It does not take any responsibility over here, right? The responsibility still lies with us as clinicians. Yes?
So going off that, Nicole asks, is ChatGPT ethical though, or do you need to use a specific AI program, for example, the ones advertised for therapists?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I am demonstrating on ChatGPT because it is the widest platform. Like it can do the most things. So it can draw cute figures for me and summarize a PDF, and it can do this. So this is the widest platform. There are tons, and I'll show them to us, specific platforms that are even more catered for this kind of work. But that's going to be for us. Like new ideas and new platforms are coming up daily. In fact, this might be unless there was another question. Yes, Dr. Fisher.
Just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Why did you tell ChatGPT that was great? Why did you tell ChatGPT that was great?
Because I'm just a polite person. Like there isn't, like I feel I have a relationship here, you know. But you don't have to. You don't have to.
No, I wondered if there was if you can give it feedback. Like I've seen in other cases where you can say, that's too technical. Could you give me a simpler version?
Yes.
Or
So
you can give it feedback.
I can give so this whole thing we can give it feedback and say good job or not good job. We can do that. And then there's this whole conversation around prompt engineering. which means how do I design the question I asked it? The way I design the question, the answer is really, really dependent on it. So if I said 21-year-old female first or second and mentioned the race first, for example, that would change the answer, right? And there's a whole field out there that, like, we're not going down today, but it's a whole conversation. But I just tend to say please and thank you because I like to.
I noticed in your first prompt, you said, please, could you help me blank? And I was just noting about how when I first got my Alexa, I used to say please, and now I just command her to do things. So perhaps another danger.
Can you scroll up real quick to the diagnosis?
Of course.
And I'm just curious, is the diagnosis what you diagnosed? And then it also gave an ongoing assessment recommendation.
Yeah.
And if that was accurate.
So that's what I was wondering. So some of it is not accurate. And so can you then give it feedback to support its ongoing? Like, I would not meet with that client twice a week, right? I would meet with that client once a week and then have them in a skills group.
So are you asking me if, repeat your question again for me?
So this gentleman pointed out that you were saying, good job.
Yeah.
Could you say, yeah, not good job. I would modify this, I would modify that, I would modify this to inform it in the future?
Yes and no. So when you are informing it in two ways. So now GPT-4 has its local memory, which means, so you see all these different chats, like here, this is a chat, this is a chat, this is a chat. It retains its memory. And so when it's answering me, it's looking at my previous feedback and responding to that. Also, when you give it that feedback, it's like going back to the whole model of OpenAI and providing feedback over there. So when you provide that feedback, it'll fix both of those. Again, it's not foolproof. You know, it may still come back with errors, but it's better. It's better. How about I give us another example? All right, so this, there you go. I had the prompt, I'm feeling sad, ChatGPT, what do I do? And so this is what ChatGPT said. Sounds like you're going through a tough time. If you were to express more about what's been making you feel sad, what would you say? Understanding more about your feelings and what might be contributing to them is a helpful step. Right? And I said, oh, my dog is feeling sad, and I feel helpless about it. And there you go. It provided me a whole paragraph of empathy for my dog. Right? And so I keep on thinking about the tons of time when I was sitting in my college dorm room, alone, sad, thinking about something, and not having a friend. And I could have gotten support in those moments. Perfect? We've talked about it. Not always, but worth considering. I want to show the room one more tool, and then I really want us to open up to questions. And this is a more general tool that is helpful for everyone. So this is a to-do list, right? So how many of us need to-do lists all the time, right? I'm seeing some smiles, so I appreciate that. And so I'm planning a trip. Where is my next vacation to, do you guys think? What do you guys think? Would you suggest a place where I can go to for my next vacation? Aruba. For how many days? Thank you. Yeah. Let's see what it does. So I'm going to ask AI to develop a list for me. So now it's developed one level of things, right? Determine the duration, weather, blah, blah, blah. So now I'm going to go on the packing list. So tell me what the necessary items are. Here you go. It's still not giving me the detailed list, but it's giving me some things to hold on to, right? So this tool was designed for folks struggling with ADHD. Yeah, and it's been phenomenal from what I know. It helps, and you can go, and we can play with it together, and I can show you more, but you can go to the amount of detail you want to go. So you can have it generate a 100-item list or a 10-item list, just depending on what you need. So these are the main structural elements that we'd want to talk to. And then all we want to do as a group is think about the use cases. So I'm wondering as a group if you want to generate some use cases. Yeah.
I'm Taryn. I work at Neighborhood Connections, and one of the things that I am working on currently, is how do we better capture who's coming to all of our events, the things that they're involved with. And so we do community building gatherings of a variety of genres in neighborhoods and on issues. And so we've been trying to think about how might we have something like a membership card or a QR code or something that gets us away from the sign-in sheet that then someone like me collates and kind of cross-references.
I'm smiling. Please continue. This is wonderful. Yeah.
So that's when I was looking at your practice uses, I was thinking about that challenge and how documentation more broadly is very difficult because our focus of our staff and people there is very much on the relationships and the connections in that moment and not capturing who's there, what everyone talked about. And so it'd be great to have that be captured so then we can work on the follow-up and the connection.
Yeah, so I can offer 2 quick solutions if you're open to it. So QR codes, as you mentioned, right? Like we can have it generate a specific QR code to each specific event. Previously, that would take more resources, but now it can connect a QR code to say like an Eventbrite or a gathering situation so that you'd have a different QR code. And now you can convert, like you can say people, you have previous sign-in sheets, you can take a photo of that and upload that. And in my limited experience, GPT-4 converts like 80% of it accurately. What's legible enough, but it does a large amount of it. Another thing around that is when you're talking to people or interviewing them, many of us have perhaps done transcription, right? Listening to the audio and then typing it up. 99% of that is now you can do that through AI. We could do it through Zoom previously, but now new AI does it like so much better. So much. Any other thoughts that come up for the room? Okay, so then perhaps we can now talk about the final piece of this, which is around pedagogy, right? There are many of us who are adjunct instructors, teachers, and I'm curious about the conversation you have around what if students are using AI in their work? What if they're doing that? What is your, I'd love to hear some thoughts from folks online or in the room. How do we track it? How do we talk about it? How do we engage with it?
Yeah, I'll just share a little that I've been thinking about since teaching last fall and this spring. Honestly, even between that time, like last fall to this spring, a lot has gotten more technical and advanced. And so one thing I'm noticing is that there are like detectors for AI. And as a professor that, just as, students used to submit to turnitin.com or any of those things to show if they've plagiarized, like now it's running these checks for AI. Do you have any thoughts on how effective they are? Because I've noticed as an instructor that they are getting better. And there's also just that gut feeling in your stomach sometimes when you read something that it's a little robotic.
Yeah. I have a couple of thoughts around it. So, and I'm happy to show us all. We can generate some text and put it in the detector. And it, like 60, 70% it detects it. So similar to like plagiarism checks, right? It can detect it. Every time it detects it, AI gets smarter and doesn't repeat that pattern. And so it's a constantly evolving field. But then the second question I have, Catherine, and I don't have answers over here, really questions, is what kind of assignments do I have for the students so that it's not like a copy-paste from ChatGPT? Like, do my assignments need to evolve based on the world I'm living in? So is it more reflections rather than summarize this paper for me, right? Like, how does that impact you? How does this impact this specific community? Because AI cannot do that. Like, it can try, but that sounds completely like fluff, right? So that's what I would offer. Any other questions in that regard?
Just wanted to make that comment. I think it helps to have. Sorry, I'm liking. I think it helps to have open engagement during the class. For instance, my assignments are turned in, but we have discussion about the same assignment during class.
Yeah.
And so we're processing, how did you analyze this matter? How did you get to that decision? So both have to coincide, right?
That's
so
right.
when I read it, if it would sound like something different, you might be able to know. But I also operate from the premise that I don't know. And so I just really intentionally try to engage as openly and transparently as possible about what it's like to analyze the matters that we have to take care of in our social services world, right? So you could take a shortcut if you want, but when you're in real life, this is how things are going to happen. So are you prepared to analyze in the space and time of real life, right? So I think it's
100%.
just constant open engagement.
Right, and them knowing what tools they have, right? And so they will have this tool when they're out in the industry now. And so how will they learn to use this tool effectively in the field, right? So, because you're absolutely right. We are training our students to go out in the community with the tools they'll have. Yeah, so 100%. Thank you very much. So I'll share one more thing unless there are more specific questions, because I'm happy to answer questions. All right. I want to share our pedagogy conversation with you. All right. So for research, what can we do using AI? Data analysis, right? So statistical analysis. We all know in statistical analysis, we need to know a bunch of assumptions before we actually do the analysis. AI is average in it, I would say, right? But it helps us. It helps us learn. It helps us identify. So it, again, removes this barrier that has existed for a very long time. Can lead for scholars from minority communities to actually engage, right? Can we look at it from that perspective? Data management, automation of research tasks. There is now developing this idea of an agent, which is an AI conversation that can go out and do research itself and come back with the analysis for me, right? So it's this field is rapidly building. Identifications of gap in logic. So you're writing, say, a manuscript or whatever, right? And your thinking is, my thinking is often muddled. AI can go through and step by step look at the logic map, or present to me a logic map and say, oh, there's a gap here. You're not thinking here. So little things like that, right? And I can do questions about that. All right, I can show you an example of that. And again, AI itself can do plagiarism detection because it's on the internet. It'll find what was there and capture it and let us know. So here is my final gift for you guys. This is a tool that actually a friend developed that helps you find AI tools, right? So this is the meta level that I'm speaking of. And this is constantly updated. So what if I need a tool for, would someone be willing to give me a suggestion? Yes, Guy.
Like 10 items in my fridge, and I really don't know what to make for dinner.
Oh, I think that's a ChatGPT thing. But maybe you want one for recipes, right? But let's see if there is one for recipes. Nothing that I can see. It's finding some stuff for identifying recycling centers, but no recipes. How about if I have, sorry, go ahead, say something. Oh, maybe that's what it was, right? How do you spell it?
RECI.
Thank you. That just shows I never search for recipes. That might be a Braveheart issue. There you go. Thank you. So it's given me all these tools, websites, where I can go. Generate new meal ideas, for example. Optimize nutrition. Okay? Thank you, Dr. Fisher. Thank you for the spelling correction. It's similar, right? Take notes, make a task, draw images, summarize, whatever. You can go to this tool, and it's constantly updating with all the tools that are being generated on there. So this is what I really wanted to offer to y'all. Really open for further questions, discussions, concerns.
Let me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Kelly. So AI using for data analysis, how do you feel about that for action research?
I don't think it's robust at all right now. Like, it's not robust. And I hope it will get robust so that we just don't have scholars coming from private academic institutions. I have a lot of friends who are like in public institutions where they don't even have access to software to like do the analysis we do, right? So that's the angle I'm looking at it. There's still a huge learning curve, and analysis is, more around how we frame the questions. And that's always the scholar.
To me, not only that, I had a mentor with the Cleveland Clinic who told me proper data analysis, to get to really know your research, what you're doing, to become an expert in that, you should try and do it the long way. A lot of people, I don't know if anybody's done research, doing it the long way could take quite a bit of time. But I will be honest, I tried using NVivo, and I didn't find it helpful. It just, to me, getting to know your research and getting to know your data, I think that's where AI could be a bit of a barrier.
Totally.
Because if it's just spitting things out to you, how can you really decipher what you're doing from analyzing your data, saying, okay, this is what my participant had to say, and really, I don't know, digging deeper, I guess is the best way to put it. So AI can be good, but I don't know. That's where I'm at a crossroad.
Yeah. AI does not give us meaning, Meaning making is a really human-centered function, I believe. So, yes.
Yes. Hi, my name is Brenda.
Hi, Brenda.
And to add on to that story as well, too, I'm currently a doctoral student, too, not at this institution, but another institution.
Yeah.
And also, too, I thought that SPSS would be my data source. It was not, because of the type of research that I'm doing, just to make a long story short.
Yeah.
So I also had to go old school with my statistician on my committee and do it the old-fashioned way. Some of my data is taking me longer than I thought to finish my research. But we're using M+, and also some old-fashioned methods as well, too.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering where AI might fit in my story as well, too. But I'm at the very last, one more semester and I'm done.
Got you. Well, congratulations, Brenda. Yeah. I would say that the analysis technology is developing. It's really not there where it's reliable. And it's developing so fast, y'all. It's really developing quickly. Yeah.
My question is around kind of images and especially citation of them. So you did an interesting thing in your presentation in that you used AI-generated images in your PowerPoint.
That's right.
And you called them out very explicitly as AI-generated.
Yes.
I know that's a controversial topic, using AI-generated images, because a lot of these models have been trained on art and images that have been created by people, and those people were not compensated by these large companies for the work that they did to create those images and train that. And so, do you have any thoughts that you wanted to share around the ethics of using AI-generated images for things like PowerPoint, I mean, my use case for AI generated images is I'm always like, I need a PowerPoint showing a diverse group of people doing this, right? And being able to generate that with AI is helpful, but also I'm a little bit concerned, especially there's a lot of artists in the spaces that I work and that I'm presenting to, and I don't want to kind of overstep that. So could you just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, and right, this is truly my reflection. I don't represent the school or OpenAI, right? Like, this is just my perspective. I only use it like for demonstration purposes, or me too. I have friends who they've spent years and years doing it, and I think it's going to shift. I truly do think that I've seen a lot of websites now that are being developed with complete AI generated images. So I think it's shifting. It's I always want to stand for the artist community, and it feels like I'm taking away something from them. But images are being developed. Like, we can't stop it. So yeah, cite properly is best I can say right now.
I guess going with images and a lot of us working with kids and how, and I'm thinking these images actually could help us instead of using image of the clients and the kids that we're serving. You can start generating images so that you're not actually putting on blast everybody you serve and putting kids' images before they're ready to acknowledge, and their parents have signed off on it, but not them themselves.
Yeah.
So like, will that help with some of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for a teaching tool though, right? I'm sorry, what's your name?
Allison.
Allison, right? Like, as a teaching tool, they're really helpful. So now there is an app being developed for folks who are dealing with, therapists who are working with folks like with hoarding tendencies. And so previously, folks were trained on them by, like going into the homes and seeing the level of stuff that has gathered. And now we can generate that through AI. And so because, right, like, we're protecting the client's dignity. I mean, we're not training on them. So yeah, things like that, I do think there is value.
And I have one more question, because I think a lot of people are talking through like research from academic, and I run a really small nonprofit, and we are very small with no budget to do data analysis.
Yeah.
So that I'm starting to look at, like, we have to have these tools because funders ask for it.
Absolutely.
But yet we're a very small staff running program. So do you have any recommendations for how to do that? Because we're not in academic world, but we also need it.
Yeah, totally. I can show it to you right now. I think we have a couple of minutes if the folks are game. So, perfect. So I'll answer the question in two ways. This is why I think AI is revolutionary for equity work, if you truly accept that. So I'm imagining, Brenda, it's not on, Brenda, yeah? I got you. Allison, sorry, my bad. It's the analysis, but it's also the data, right? Like, where, I know sometimes you get your client data, but where do you get publications or published literature, which is always behind a paywall, right? So I will show you solutions to both. So this is an AI space. Again, these you can purchase if you want. All of these, the way that the model is set up right now, you can like do certain number of searches for free, and then as you get more committed to it, you'll pay a monthly rate, right? It's different, it's changing all the time, but it can help you generate questions and publications on it. So, Allison, would you be willing to rate, like, what's a question you think about? Or what's your area, maybe?
So we do after programming.
Okay.
So we are often asked how we improve attendance,
Okay.
how we affect social emotional literacy and physical health.
Okay. How about something like this, right? What are best practices for improving attendance? Yeah? Let's just see what it generates, right? I'm here with you as a fellow traveler, no expert. So here you have it. So it's pulling up. These are all journal articles that you'll be able to access. Additionally, as you can see, it's giving me the insights. So the insights aren't the abstract. They're the main insights, and this is a shortened abstract. And you can go through those. So
I have a question. So I've been thinking, and your question is, I think, maybe along the same lines of, you run a program that was my field placement, America Scores, that you need data from the schools, you may or may not have that. So if you're saying our program is an after-school program, the kids get to go to it if they go to school that day, but you may not have access to that data. Can AI, and then, for my work, similarly, like, are we impacting various things where there's data that exists, but we may not have access to it? Some of it may be public, some of it may be not. I was wondering what your thoughts are on.
So yes, I do think there are specific ways we can talk about. So there's public data and private data, right? So private data we cannot access, but publicly available data, there are what we call in GPT-4 plugins, which are designed for specific tasks, and they do have certain data sources and national data sources, and also they make it more accessible. So like we can talk to it in English rather than programming language, and it can pull back what we need. So say you have a spreadsheet with like 20 columns, and you ask it, can you please remove these 3 columns for me? So you can say that in English now, and it can do that rather than play with it, right? So little things and those are the elements.
Yeah, this topic just fascinates me to no end. It's really interesting to hear these 2 most recent questions about the administration, right? How AI can be used for administration versus how it's used in a clinical setting. And I can kind of grasp and go, okay, administratively, yeah, makes sense, that's good, yeah, expedience, that's low budget, how do I get there? But you also showed examples in the clinical context of its having a conversation and crisis management and diagnosis and treatment planning. And that begs the question then, what is social work, right? If this machine is doing social work, what are we doing, right? And what about practitioners who rely on it solely to do the social work? Because although those examples might not have been just quite right, they might have been good enough for a lot of folks. And it's really interesting when you think about where we are today versus where we're going. So yeah, this technology is in the very embryonic stages of development. It's only going to get better, faster, more effective, and more expansive in how it does this work. And so what about that? Where do we draw the line between who we are as social workers and what is AI-generated social work? Let me make one last point. For those who know me, I'm Scott Wilkes, I'm Assistant Dean of Academic Affairs. I also serve on the Ohio Social Work Board, and we're having these conversations about what are the benefits and the dangers of AI and what action can the board take to set up rules and regulations around this. And we don't know, right? We don't know yet. We're just starting to have those conversations because, and I'll say, some members of the board see the absolute benefits of this and think, oh man, it's really going to help practitioners. And others think, oh my God, it's the end of the, it's the end of the earth for us. So we're all split somewhere in the middle. I tend to err on the cynical side, but it is really fascinating to think about the multitude of applications and where we are today versus where this is going to be 20 years from now, and the existential question about who we are as social workers.
Yeah, right on, Dr. Wilkes, right on. I'm in complete agreement. And what is social work, right? Like, what does our profession do? Does it grow? Does it evolve with it? And what does that look like? Have folks brought their laptops? Are we willing to practice a little bit by ourselves? Oh, Shelley, you have a question.
Yeah, I just, something that Dr. Wilkes was talking about in Braveheart, I think you made a good point earlier of like, how do social workers begin to sit at tables where AI is being discussed? And I think that as social workers, something to really consider jumping to an ethical standpoint is we do have an ethical obligation for technological advances in social work and the interplay between humans and technology. So perhaps this is something we need to begin to think about of what is that interplay and what as social workers do we do with this understanding of our involvement in the person and environment approach, knowing this is our environment now. Sorry, my voice is like really shaky. But anyway, and understanding like this will be our environment over time. And so perhaps that's what we need to be thinking about, not just the benefits and like, oh, this benefits me in this moment, but in the long run, what is this interplay? That's just my soapbox.
I'm in deep agreement, right? Like where we go out to have jobs now, there will be AI, right? In various forms. And so how are we engaging? And our clients are going to be, I believe we're going to have like mental health conversations around the impact of AI on someone, right? And so we have to be ready as clinicians to be able to talk about that. And so it's a very developing field. Any other questions? This is a good time if folks want to practice and do some work on their laptops, and which I hope y'all brought. And we can work with AI, and I can show you all things on your computers for the folks online and in person. The folks that are already on the platform, I invite you to engage with it the way you would in normal life, the way you would with a chatbot, for example. Like ask it specific enough questions, right? So ask, for example, what are the top 10 things to do in Cleveland, right? I'm planning a vacation to Aruba. What are the top 5 things I should be doing? So engage with it the way you would want to engage with it, yeah? I can do a demonstration for us as well. So I'm just asking GPT-4, it's finals week, I have a classroom full of anxious students right now. And GPT-4, could you help me? So now I'm asking for my personal guidance, right? Can you please tell me how I can help these students? So let us see. So what do folks think? To help our students?
You have to type more into your prompt than you get from ChatGPT at some point. It's like those case notes.
What do we think? Or perhaps my question to the room is, what would we increase, like we are now teachers. What would we increase or add to this list? So we said, open office hours, study groups, stress management, meditation, sleep hygiene, physical activity breaks, resource sharing, balanced nutrition, emotional support, and referrals. Does that feel comprehensive? What would you add? Ah, wonderful. Giving yourself permission to rest. And giving the students permission to rest too. Yeah. What else comes up? Right. So here with this example, what I'm offering is, we can use it for data generation, but we can also use it to like clarify our thinking, right? What am I missing? Maybe I would always think of resting, I usually wouldn't. And so, right, like having our community support us in that, really, really wonderful. Yeah. What are some issues that folks are running into as they're working on AI? Any questions that are coming up?
Okay, I have a question just in general.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm thinking about this progress notes.
Yeah.
Now, so let's say I'm in court and the attorney says, "Did you write this?" Do I say yes or no? Because I didn't really write it.
Oh, I do not know the answer to that, right?
Something to think about.
Definitely.
If I write a grant and the funders look at it, can I really say, "Yeah, I wrote that"? Well, maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, I think it's like a really ethical
Same with
issue.
insurance companies.
Absolutely.
Same with insurance companies doing chart reviews. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I get.
I mean, that's the whole conversation around pedagogy and like papers, right? Like, are students writing it? I want my students to be writing the papers. But do I want them to grammar check themselves through this? Okay, that makes sense, right? So yeah, it's a very nuanced balance. So in our last couple of minutes, I wonder if we can generate within this room some use cases. Now that you've seen some of the capabilities, where could you use this in your daily lives? Just to make your life a little bit simpler. Where do you think we could use it?
I like the whole conversation about data gathering and data analysis. Is this the best app for that, ChatGPT, or what would be the better app?
Yeah, there are so many more. So many more. So within GPT, there is a plugin called Wolfram Alpha, and a really good data gathering and analysis from that. And then I can talk to you specifically, like it would have to be based on what exact kind of data you're trying to analyze. We can talk after. Yeah.
I know me and some of my colleagues have used it to generate case studies to talk about with students, and that's something that you could use in supervision as well.
Very much so. Very much so.
I know one thing that I was telling my table about, I use it for recommendation letters as just a starting point where I will put in the students' like just strong points and strengths, and then ask it to write a recommendation letter, and then I copy and paste it and then make it personalized for my student.
Great. So let's generate some more. Yeah.
My student actually brought this up to me earlier this year, and we used it for making cards to send to families, because then we could actually make, which sounds strange, personalized sympathy cards.
Yeah.
But make them sound different because they would give us different examples.
Absolutely. So it just helps with the words, right? And sometimes helps us get the right words and communicate an emotion that we really want to express. Absolutely. Believe it's on the Hallmark, when you like subscribe to the Hallmark cards now, there is an AI in there where it helps you generate writing for the cards. Which, I mean, for some of us, like, I like using my words, I like expressing myself, but what if English wasn't my first language? And I would need some support in expressing myself deeply. I think it's really helpful, meaningful in that way. What are some other use cases for us? How else do we use it?
Hi, I'm Haley. I'm from
Haley.
Woodridge Local Schools District, and I do district-wide mental health. I oversee it district-wide. I also do direct practice with high school students. One of our big things this year is excessive absence and chronic like habitual truancy, and so I have had it write a intervention plan for a student who is habitually truant, addressing its root cause, because we do root cause assessments with our students, and it is went super in depth for that. I also had it write a return to school after hospitalization for suicidal ideation plan, and it went super in depth with that as well.
And was it decent enough, Haley? Like,
Oh, absolutely. Well, something is better than nothing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
As we're developing these things, right now we have nothing, and this is something. So, but it's a great first step to take back to my superintendent, because she uses ChatGPT all the time, to be like, hey, this is what ChatGPT gave me. What are we going to do with it? Do you like it? How can we adjust it?
That's right.
But I believe that what I'm looking at here is usable within my district.
Wonderful. I'm reminded of Brene Brown, right? The person every social worker knows, I guess. Like, And she talks about this idea of writing the shitty first draft. And I imagine if this could be our first draft for many of our things.
Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine. I am an evaluation and data professional, and we make logic models all the time. And as I make logic models, I know that I'm not perfect and I often forget things. So I tend to do the first draft. I don't like starting with ChatGPT because I think it takes away some creativity. But I typically start and copy and paste the whole entire thing into ChatGPT and ask how my logic looks, if there's anything missing, if I've forgotten any areas or could improve. And I find that it's really helpful. The other area is when I'm developing metrics, listing out all the metrics I've thought of and asking if there are additional ones.
That's right.
And then sometimes I heard over here that it's sometimes a challenge if you're at limited capacity. I write things like, this organization has very limited capacity for collecting data. Which of these metrics, like rank these metrics in order of hardest to collect to most difficult to collect?
Wow. Wow. I've never thought of that. That's wonderful. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Kat. Yeah.
That's Ryan Edlund.
Yes.
I've worked in a lot of different settings throughout my career, but I found things like donor engagement, for fundraising, newsletters, letters to specific donors, things like that, because that can be tedious. But taking the data and plugging it in, and then asking it to generate some kind of letter.
Yes. Yes. And now you can do that, right? It adds efficiency, but it doesn't take away your heart. Like, you're still communicating with the person. You're still giving it the points.
And you can ask it to be like warmer or more personalized, and it'll take the feedback.
Sound like you, right? Like,
right, make it sound like me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the more you enter into it, from what I understand, it learns your language style, syntax, things like that. So.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Perfect. Perfect. Right? So we're thinking when we're fundraising in that level, definitely can use it in that way. Yeah.
We have Nicole who said, I can see utilizing this when you are feeling overwhelmed during the day. AI can give you a jumping off point for notes or treatment plans.
Very much. AI can also help you make your daily schedule. So if you tell AI, oh man, I need to work out today. I need to attend 3 classes, and I have my meeting at this time, and this time. Please develop a schedule from me from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. It can develop a little schedule for you. And then you can edit it, right? But it can help you get that started. Sorry? Oh, sure, I can show it. Yeah.
You even said hello.
So you can give it as much detail. The more detail you give it, the more nuanced it will be. Let's see what it gives us. And of course, right, like this will be something to start off from, and then we'll edit as we go. So this is, again, right, I remember working in corporate America, and for the CEO, the admins would prepare their like daily schedule for the day. And like now this is doing this for me, and it can just help me be a little bit more organized. Right? So again, like the big lesson that I would really like for us to learn is that there isn't a list of things that AI can do. The idea is we're using use cases. So what you can imagine, you can try and see if it can do, right? Like the limitation is our ideas for the use cases. Yeah? All right. Any final thoughts before we end our time today? Wonderful. Well, I am really, really grateful for all of you in engaging in this conversation with me. Thank you for coming along and playing with me and like sharing so much of your wisdom. Really, really grateful. Thank you all. Thank you.
Wow, that was incredible. That was amazing. Again, another round of applause for Braveheart. I'm just curious, how many of you came in, raise your hand, came in here with a certain idea about how you use AI and then now have a different idea? Yeah, me too. Look at that. Look at that impact you have. That's incredible. Thanks so much, Braveheart. All right, where are we at? We're past this. Welcome. We're past this. Okay, here we go. So right now we are going to welcome Dr. Scott Wilkes up to the lectern, and he is going to talk to you a little bit about the ASWB Social Work Census. So Assistant Dean for Academic Affairs, Dr. Scott Wilkes.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. How are you? Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. You know me, I like to walk around, so me being tethered to this microphone at this podium is going to be really challenging, but at least I have my shoes off. All right, so how many of you have heard about the social work census? Can I get that? Oh, works. Yeah.
Oh, let's do something.
Hello? Oh, great, great, great. All right. How many of you have heard about the social work census? Okay, a few. Okay, so let me explain what this is. Knowing that we were all getting together, I had to take the opportunity to explain this or share this with you. So the social work census is a survey. What am I holding this for? I got the mic. Okay. ASWB, the Association of Social Work Boards, that is the umbrella organization for all of the licensing boards across the U.S. and in Canada. All right, they're the umbrella organization. So every licensing board is kind of not managed by, but it's their collective organization. ASWB then is the organization that develops and administers the social work licensing exam. If you've been following the news of late, you know that there's been some kerfuffle about the exam, but for the most part, we still have a licensing exam which is designed to measure baseline competency for entering the field, okay? The field is changing, as we just see with the introduction of AI, with gender-affirming care, with the use of trauma-informed practice. Our professional practice continuously evolves. Therefore, our exam needs to represent or reflect that evolution. So the social work census is really a survey of social workers all across the nation and in Canada to ask you, what does your practice look like, so that we can gather data then to develop an exam that's relevant, okay? So the goal is, so the social work census was launched in March at the start of Social Work Month, and it's open until the end of May. So we had 3 months, March, April, May, to the end of May is when the social work census will close. You have on your tables, this is where social work counts. Social workers count. That's where this comes from. So I encourage you to take these and spread them around. And we're also passing out little pamphlets that explains the survey. The goal is for us to have over 100,000 social workers take the census. That is an ambitious goal. And again, this is across the US and Canada. There are about 450,000 social workers in the US and Canada, of which about 40,000 are in Ohio. So we almost have 10% of all social workers in the nation in Canada, right here in this one state. I don't know why that is. We do. We're just a very social work friendly state that this one state has almost 10% of all the social workers. So, yeah, isn't it interesting? Okay, so the census, so there's a barcode there, a QR code, that if you show on that, it will take you to the Mandel School webpage that you can link then to the census. The census is they branded it as a 2-hour survey, that it would take you 2 hours to do it. It took me less than an hour. Probably took me maybe 20 or 30 minutes to do it. It doesn't take that long. You've taken it, how long did it take you? 20 or 30 minutes? Great. Yeah, about 20 or 30 minutes. Here's the kicker. If you do the survey, you'll get 2 free CEUs. 2 hours worth of CEUs just for taking the survey. And we encourage you to share this information with every social worker you know in your organizations. Students can take it. If you're a licensed social worker, you can take it. Even if you're not practicing social work or you're not a licensed social worker, but you do social work type work, you can take the census. Anything related to social services, human services, we want to get a broad view of what the field looks like. And we're hoping to get 100,000 people. I think that I have, let me see, is it in here? Oh, I have a video. So do I just click it? Okay, I'll click it. And I'll click it again. Oh, let me go back.
Every social worker and every social service worker to have their voices heard.
It is designed to build the most inclusive picture of today's social work workforce.
Regardless of background, job, location, everyone is invited to participate in this census.
Sign up to be notified when the census launches on March 1st, 2024. Learn more at swcensus.org.
Oh, I think it caught the tail end of that. It didn't play from the beginning. How do I go back? Can I go back? If I go back? No, that's hilarious. All right, let's try this again. I'm not going to click it again. Click it. Okay.
The social work census is a historic opportunity for every social worker and every social service worker to have their voices heard.
It is designed to build the most inclusive picture of today's social work workforce.
Regardless of background, job, location, everyone is invited to participate in this census.
Sign up to be notified when the census launches on March 1st, 2024. Learn more at swcensus.org.
Okay, so it did, we were there. I thought it was way longer than that. Actually, it was way longer than that before. Okay, so you have the information, you have that barcode to get it on your phone. Encourage everyone to take it. I think we're around 40,000 people who have already taken it thus far. At least about 40,000 people have started it but not yet completed it. Here's the good news. So ASWB is committing to incentivize people to take the incentive. They're putting up $100,000, so $1 for every person who takes the census. And so once you take the census, you represent $1. Now you say $1 doesn't really matter, but it does. Because what ASWB is named about 13 national organizations that are going to be the recipients of a share of $100,000. And they're really great organizations. And so once you complete the census, you can designate where you want your dollar to go. So an organization can get up to $10,000, $12,000 and as a donation to their work. So you can be a part of that. Also, the Mandel School is also building in an incentive. And so we're going to hold a raffle of all the people who take the census. We'll get a list of those names, and we're going to put those names in a raffle, and we're going to actually auction off a free class that anyone can take a free class in either our online, our intensive weekend, and or full-time format. So you can enter to take a course with the Mandel School. Hi. No. What if your best friend is what? What if your best graduate from me? Oh, I don't think so. That's a great question. No, we don't want to feed our own, but definitely take the census. Definitely take the census. So please spread the word about the census, okay? Any questions on that? Okay, so the next thing, I don't want that, I want this. So now we're going to move into the awards section of the presentation, and we're going to be honoring, as Nicole said earlier, the John Yankee Outstanding Part-Time Instructor, Outstanding Field Instructor, and Outstanding Practicum Organization. This event really is about celebrating you. We could not do this without all of your support and your hard work. And in the beginning, the slides that were rotating were excellent testimonies from our students that shows how much they appreciate the work that you do. And here's the interesting thing. As much as our students appreciate the work that you do, I think you enjoy the work as well. I think you enjoy our students as much as they enjoy you. So it's a great reciprocal relationship. But this is an opportunity for our students to nominate who they feel made the most impact in their education. And so I want to start with the John Yankee Award. So we had two nominees for the John Yankee Award. And the John Yankee Award is awarded to an instructor, an adjunct instructor who exemplifies exceptional teaching in the classroom, okay? And there's a number of different metrics about how they relate to students, how prepared they are, how knowledgeable they are, that students then are evaluating their instructors. So our first nominee is Dabney Conwell. And Dabney's here. Dabney was nominated by Sloan Miller. I don't know. Sloan Miller, and this is what Sloan said. Dabney was an amazing professor who really challenged me to think differently about systemic issues. She made the learning experience dynamic, intriguing, and communal. She encouraged us to explore our own ideas and develop our own educated opinions. She was incredibly supportive and empathic. So that's great. That's great. So congratulations, Dabney. Our other nominee, our second nominee, is Patrick Clifford. And Patrick is not here today, but joining us online. And in order to the nomination for Patrick, we have with us Ariana Bay. Hi, Ariana. So, do you want to get behind the mic and explain your nomination? You can read your nomination. It's right. There you go.
Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to stand before you to give recognition to Professor Clifford. Professor Clifford is by far one of the best instructors at Case Western Reserve University. He takes pride in his work that he does, and he also cares about his students. His lesson plans are well thought out and congruent with the curriculum. He goes above and beyond for his students to ensure we gain knowledge and understanding in any of the courses he's taught. Although his courses are tedious, he presents the work in such a way that the information sticks, and I will be able to carry it in my future as a licensed social worker. Professor Clifford is easygoing and open-minded. No matter how much skill and knowledge he has, he presents that he is able to learn and gain knowledge from his students as well. I know I am in good hands when taking his courses because he exemplifies that he loves the work that he does. So thank you, Professor Clifford, and your online for your help.
Thank you, Ariana. Good job. Thank you very much. So the winner, the recipient of this year's John A. Yankee Award for Teaching Excellence, that did not format well, is Patrick Clifford. So there you go. So Patrick, congratulations. I know you're online. Wonky, wonky. The names behind there are all of the people who nominated Patrick Clifford for this honor. So very cool, very cool. It's always nice to be recognized amongst your peers. So good job, Pat. All right, the next bit of business that I have is I want to introduce all of you, because many of you have students who are either in practicums and or who teach our online students. And for the past, I'm going to say 2 years now, we have had a vacancy in our online director's position, and we no longer have a vacancy. And so we want to welcome, and we're pleased to welcome, Aaron Sigmund, who comes to us from Carnegie Mellon. And Aaron, you are in the room. I believe you were in the room. Aaron, stand up. Say hello to Aaron. Aaron will be taking on the responsibilities of our online director of online education as we continue to develop and expand our online presence. The online world, I believe at this point, makes up almost 50% of our student population, our online students. So it is quite expansive and will continue to grow. So we're very pleased to have Erin, because she's going to take us in new and evolving places as our online program continues to grow. Okay, so with that, I think I am done with my section, and I'm going to turn it over to Nicole, who is going to introduce you then to, can I click it? Sure. Yeah. To the field staff. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. And Dr. Wilkes still doesn't have his shoes on. If you ever took a class with Dr. Wilkes, he never has his shoes on. That's how he teaches and presents best. Thank you, Dr. Wilkes. Congratulations, Pat. All right, field education, my favorite topic. Before I get into this, though, I wanted to let you all know, in case you haven't realized, there are 2 QR codes on your tables, one for the evaluation for Braveheart's amazing training, and the other one for CEUs. So feel free to scan those at your leisure. And then Julianne, at some point, will be putting those in the chat. Looks like she's on it right now, because she's so great. Okay. There's also stickers at your table, too. Feel free to take those, the census stickers that Scott provided. Okay, yes, the field education team. They are incredible. So I'm going to introduce you to the team here. And as I introduce you, please feel free to stand up and wave so everybody can acknowledge you. Let me just tell you about this team. There's been a lot of transition with the team for the past year, and it's not always easy for a team to gel and come together, right? I mean, you've got different personalities, different learning styles. This is the best team that I have ever worked with in my entire life. They are incredible. They have different assets. They have different things that they bring to the table, and they just work so well together. We had a little rocky moments there, but we came together, and they just really are incredible. They work diligently to ensure that students have the best practicum learning experience possible. They are dedicated and hardworking individuals. They are passionate and competent, and they go above and beyond. And each one of them volunteers when we need them. They work together to help each other, and they're just an incredible team. So we have Miss Henrietta Jones, who is our administrative assistant, and she's in the back there waving. It's Henrietta. And she puts this event together. This is really her baby. So thank you, Henrietta, for putting together such a great event. We have Adusu Bailey. He is on campus format. In the back there waving. He's been running around with a microphone. We have Julianne Foster, on-campus field faculty advisor. Rob Lieberman, on-campus field faculty advisor. Rob, speaking about going above and beyond, he also I'm just going to call this out, also went and just put some quarters on somebody's in this room parking meter, just for, goes above and beyond. Thank you, Rob. Lori Long's painter, director of the IW program and field faculty advisor. Angela Whitten, who is online field faculty advisor, who lives locally, that's how she's here. Dr. Shinobia Webster, online field faculty advisor. Susan Snyder, online field faculty advisor. Jeff Echek, associate director and field faculty advisor. All right, thank you, team. And then you all know me. Okay, now, to all the field instructors in the room, we have 3 program formats that we offer. We have the on-ground weekly, the on-ground weekend, and online program. So I'm just curious, how many of you teach in the on-ground format? Okay, how many in the weekly? Weekend? Anyone? Okay, and how many online? Okay. So I just want to thank you all, because you all are so inspirational, and you don't even really, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but our students are so impacted by you. They really are. Thank you for teaching, supporting, encouraging, motivating, listening, validating, advising, and inspiring our students at the Mendel School in their practicum education. Our students look to you and to learn best practices. They look to you to talk through challenges, modalities, and complex situations during weekly supervisions and everyday interactions. They look to you to guide them after observing them in practice. You are all paving the way for their future generation of social workers, and we cannot thank you enough for partnering with us in this very important work. Without you, our program would not exist, and from the bottom of our hearts, we really, truly thank you. Now for the fun part. We have the honor of celebrating 2 very special field education awards today: the Outstanding Practicum Organization Award and the Outstanding Field Instructor Award, both of which are nominated by our very own students at the Mendel School. So we're going to start with the Practicum Organization Award. Keeping in mind that we have over 1,000 practicum organizations that we partner with, it's very, very hard to narrow down just one. So after surveying the students and asking them to nominate a practicum organization that fits the criteria that I'll read to you in just a minute, there were 3 very deserving top organizations that were nominated. So the criteria for the Practicum Organization Award is as follows. The Outstanding Practicum Organization Award recognizes organizations that have invested in the growth and development of Mandel School social work students and recognizes the importance of helping students integrate the classroom and practicum learning. Organizations nominated for this award provide a variety of progressively advancing learning opportunities to continuously support students' learning and professional development. So our finalists, we'd like to invite 3 of our students up front who are going to read their nominations. So we'd like to invite Yan Mi, Cheyenne, Urban, and John Tita. Are you all here? Come on up. Let's give them a round of applause already for coming up. John's not here. Okay. So John is unable to make it, so we will have field faculty advisor Rob in his place to speak on his behalf. So first, I would like to call up, let's see, who's going to be first? Jan, come on up. Go ahead and speak on why you like to nominate Asia's Action and Services.
Of course.
There you go.
It's my pleasure to nominate Asia Services in Action for the Outstanding Practicum Organization Award. My engagement at Asia Services in Action, including responsive counseling and senior support facilitating, along with coordinating clients' referrals to their social services department. Those experiences not only deepened my understanding of the challenges faced by the Asia America and the Pacific Islander communities, but also equipped me with hands-on experience integrating social work theory into practice. Asia providing comprehensive and tailored approach in addressing the unique needs of these communities in Northeast Ohio. They effectively delivers culturally and linguistically appropriate health, educational, and legal services, and plays a crucial role in alleviate mental health stigma with initiatives like mental health first aid and multilingual counseling. Their efforts to educate families on substance abuse prevention and to promote healthy lifestyle choices and social engagement among seniors further illustrate their holistic approach to community health. So by highlighting Asia Services in Actions, our organization's efforts in those programs and services, we hope we can draw more attention to the needs and the contributions of the AAPI communities. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jan. Next, I'd like to invite Cheyenne, who will introduce the second finalist for the Outstanding Practicum Organization Award. Cheyenne is a first-year on-campus MSW student in the weekend format. Cheyenne?
It's my pleasure to nominate Frontline Service for the Outstanding Practicum Organizational Award. Here's why I nominated Frontline. Frontline is a unique organization that serves the most vulnerable population in the county, offering crisis, trauma, and homeless and housing services. Frontline is an agency assists with a variety of needs that otherwise may not be met. As a practicum site as an agency, it is flexible with our students, encouraging us to prioritize going back to school, growing professionally, and getting new opportunity. Frontline treats their employees as people first and prioritizes our well-being. Additionally, Frontline is home to some of the most compassionate, passionate, and knowledgeable staff I've ever worked with. It's a good place to be whether you're a new social worker or have a ton of clinical experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Next, we are going to invite Field Faculty Advisor Rob Lieberman to talk about the third finalist.
Thank you. This is John's statement for Neighborhood Connections. I nominated Neighborhood Connections for this award because of my experience as an intern in the organization for the past academic year. As an international student coming into the United States from a different cultural perspective and work ethic, one of the things that bothered me was organizational environment and how I was going to be received in such an environment. After a whole academic year as an intern with Neighborhood Connections, I'm happy to say that I made the right decision by choosing Neighborhood Connections for the following reasons. There is a culture of community that made me feel welcome and belong. I had a sense of acceptance and belonging. With the issue of race still a topical part of the U.S. national discourse, I can say without mincing words that the organization has a culture that advances racial equity, diversity, and inclusion. I was given opportunities to be part of training programs and resources for staff. This has contributed tremendously to the development of some professional skills vital for my practice as a social worker in the not too distant future. The organization's environment was friendly and devoid of discrimination or intimidation. These experiences for me as someone new in the U.S. work and corporate environment made me feel at home, offered me opportunities for learning, and contributed to helping me learn a lot about community organizing and engagement and community development in general. These are lessons that will remain as valuable contributions to my overall development as a social worker. Thank you.
Okay, now for the recipient. We have a drum roll. Thank you. And the winner is I just like to see everybody's face right now. Frontline service. So we have a student who, you, right? Right here, made an incredible video. So we would ask that you want to come up and take a picture with, and we'll give you an award right after this video. So we're going to go ahead and play this video. How do I play this? Let's see.
Over the last semester, I've had the pleasure of interning at Frontline Service. For about a year more, I've also been employed at Frontline Service. When I started in 2022, I never thought I'd be participating in an award ceremony about how much I love this place. It's hard to put into words how much you grow to love watching dozens of people make changes that impact their entire trajectory. Some may reconnect with parents, maintain safe and stable housing for the first time in their life, or get their first job that allows them to buy a birthday card for a friend. I've gotten to watch some of these exact changes and help people understand how to make these changes stick so that they can continue on their trajectory and on to bigger and better things. Frontline not only offers crisis services, trauma services, and outreach, but our staff also provide on-site social services to 7 permanent supportive housing sites. And that's where I come in. I get to train the staff who do the good work and help managers run their life-changing program. As an intern, I've also gotten to sit at tables I didn't know existed. I've gotten to meet people from the Office of Homeless Services, Housing Innovations, and other community organizations that we've built partnerships alongside. I get a lot of creative freedom with things like agency training materials, helping rewrite job descriptions, and sitting on committees that work towards personal and professional development for the agency staff and leadership. All this to say, I wouldn't be where I am today without the support, guidance, and encouragement from my supervisor and the rest of the leadership team, both in my department and at the agency. Specifically, Rebecca Weiland and Jennifer Harrison have encouraged me all the way from grad school applications to venturing out and trying new things now. I'm so grateful that I get to take my experience and apply it today, tomorrow, and for the rest of my career. Thank you for the opportunity to share about my experience so far.
Awesome. So Frontline, come on up for a picture and a special award. You can come on up. Julianne. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay. So proud of thank you. Thank you. Okay, next I would like to invite Associate Director Jeff Echek up to the stage to announce our nominees for the Outstanding Field Instructor Award.
Hey everybody, thanks for being here. I know it's a busy time for everybody, but we really this is one of the best ways we can show our appreciation for what you do as field instructors, as adjunct instructors, and those of you representing organizations that we partner with. So really, thanks for being here. The Outstanding Field Instructor Award was first instituted in 2007, so this is the 18th year we've celebrated our field instructors in this way. We surveyed all students and asked them to nominate a field instructor who fits this criteria. The Outstanding Field Instructor Award recognizes one individual for their incredible work, as well as their commitment to students and to the future of the social work profession. Field instructors are the social workers in the organizations who work to help students apply classroom theory to the realities of today's service delivery challenges, develop their professional skills, and grow their identities as professional social workers. This is an incredibly important role. We take this very seriously, and we know you do as well. So again, thanks for that. Out of over 250 active field instructors, the following were nominated for the 2024 Outstanding Field Instructor Award. If you happen to be here, as I read your name, please stand just so we can recognize you. We'll hold the applause until the end so we can move through this, but yeah, please do stand if I read your name. And I apologize in advance if some of these names are not pronounced correctly. Heck, my last name is very difficult to pronounce, so I apologize for that. All right, let's jump into it. All right, Allison Black from America Scores, Carly Temple from Cleveland Clinic, Courtney Clemens from DCFS in Cuyahoga County, Dana Yanis from the Angie Fowler Adolescent and Young Adult Cancer Institute at UH Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital, Dear Cody from Welsh Academy at St. Ignatius. Oh dear, okay. Dr. David Hussey from the Begun Center here on campus, Emily Geyer from the Shaker Heights Youth Center, Faye Lee from Asia Services in Action, Kateri Browerman, Greater Cincinnati Behavioral Health Services, Kelly Lappa from Cleveland Clinic, Crystal Jasicki from Clee Counseling and Wellness Center, Lisa Bills from Bethany Christian Services, Mary Ellen Jordan from St. Herman's Focus, Megan Spencer, U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, Meng Lu from the Nord Center. Did I miss one? Oh my gosh. Ming Lu from the Nord Center. I thought I said that. Sorry. Sorry, Ming Lu. Meredith Tavener from Huron County Department of Job and Family Services. I also want to recognize, you'll see some folks that are not from Greater Cleveland. So that just points out our footprint and where we partner with different providers across the country. MJ Lawrence from the LGBT Center at the university and also UH Hospitals. Some of these folks who we mentioned, they serve as external field instructors as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean they work with both places, but they do partner with us to support students who are there. We have Nancy Karst from Akron Children's Hospital. We have Nancy Newer, who is solely an external field instructor. Oliver Ghost from the CV Ranch, Rebecca Weiland from Frontline, Robin Manchik from New Directions, Ryan Zimler, who serves as an external field instructor, Sadago Galloway from Your Recovery Counseling. And just, I hear some gasp at all the names. I think this is a testament to how strongly our students believe in you as field instructors, really. Sharon Shoemaker from Catholic Charities of Lake County, Susan McIntyre, the Helen Gordon Davis Center for Women, Taryn Gress from Neighborhood Connections, Tricia Whittingham from the University Health and Counseling Center, and Victoria Ackman from Lighthouse Youth Services. Let's give a round of applause to everyone who's been nominated. All right, everyone could be seated. Thank you. So, as you can tell, we had a tall order to choose a field instructor. we weighed a lot of different options. We looked at the statements from the students. We looked at our interactions with them. Sometimes if you've been a field instructor for a while, that plays in. So we whittled this down. That's quite the list. And here's what we got it down to. 5 finalists here. Dear Cody, MJ Lawrence, Mary Basie, Courtney Clemens, and Megan Spencer. So what we'd like to do now is welcome 7 students to the podium who nominated these finalists for the Outstanding Field Instructor of the Year. And if those numbers don't make sense, we have 5 finalists but 7 students. That's because we have multiple students that just felt so passionate about their field instructor that we couldn't say no. We couldn't. I know we're pressed for time, but really, I appreciate that the students are so passionate and so supportive. So come on down here. These students are Delias Norman, Kristen Sylvester, Hallie Blanchard, Allie Pale, Harley Rubin, Chloe Scott, and Shantae Nance Alexander. So come on up. Okay. Up first, we're going to have Delias and Kristen share a little bit about Dear Cody. So coming up, Delias, you can go first. Delias. Sorry, Delias. Dear couldn't be here today. He had a little mishap at the Guardians game last night, but he's a new field instructor. He's an excellent field instructor. So feel free to share.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry. So it's our pleasure to nominate Dear Cody for the Outstanding Field Instructor Award. I guess I'll give you a little spiel on why I nominated Dear. Besides being a social worker, Dear is a father, a son, a brother, a friend, an educator, a mentor, and a leader that the entire school looks up to, both students and faculty. As the supervisor, Dear prioritizes my well-being sincerely. From being motivated by Dear, I have learned how essential it is for self-care as a social worker. Mentoring is a brain to pick, an ear to listen, and a push in the right direction, said by John Crosby. He has shown me grace, mentorship, and education, which has built my confidence at the Welsh Academy. His actions and contributions to the Welsh Academy are reflective to the students' growth, especially when they leave the school to enter high school. He has developed the school's social-emotional learning curriculum and is pivotal to cultural humility and social-emotional awareness in the entire organization. His relationships with the students have given students a person whom they feel safe with. On another note, I have learned the application of social work ethics with supervision and mentorship with Dear. In fact, he embodies the ethics of social work naturally and is a believer in overall wellness, collaboration, and inclusion, which all bleeds into his role as student life counselor at the Welsh Academy. And that's Dear Cody.
I hate when balloons pop, so hopefully they don't. Okay, so can I turn this? Because I feel like it's up my nose. So I entered graduate school after working and severely burning out as a public school teacher for over 10 years. I had no intention of pursuing school social work, but I felt called when I saw Welsh Academy show up as a potential internship site. I was familiar with the Welsh Academy, at least its location, from reliably finding parking next to the school when I would visit the Ohio City neighborhood. And I was always curious what it was like inside and what it might feel like to be in a smaller, non-public school setting. At my interview, I could sense instantly upon meeting Dear that he was genuine and kind. The incoming 6th graders were having their summer camp, and I got to observe Dear teach an SEL lesson. During the lesson, I got to interact with the students, and I was surprised to notice how at ease and calm, unlike now, that I felt in my body, which was something that I had lost access to in school settings after teaching. Dear worked collaboratively with us the entire time, and I truly enjoyed working as a team with both Dear and Delias. Dear went out of his way the first few weeks to take us around campus and show us where things were and introduce us to people. I'm not sure there was a time when we were able to walk somewhere without being stopped by a former student or staff member just wanting to stop and chat with Dear. I even was able to connect with someone at the internship fair from Euclid Schools where he has worked before by just mentioning his name. It is so clear that Dear establishes deep and lasting connections that all those he encounters cherish and that withstand time and distance. He just connects so easily and authentically with people. I mean, you haven't, but you should see this guy's smile. I admire Dear's ability to self-reflect in the moment and to prioritize and do what is best for students at Welsh. If I had to ascribe a single motto to Dear Cody, it would be some iteration of just love the kids, which is at the root of all he does at Welsh. My experience at the Welsh Academy under Dear's supervision was so wonderful and healing. There was a stark difference in how I felt on internship days compared to days spent on campus. And that's because under Dear's supervision, I felt safe, valued, accepted, and cared for, which we all know are necessary in order to truly heal, learn, and grow.
Thanks, Delias and Chris. You're both finishing your first year, right? Just now. Congratulations on making it through your first year of grad school, too. Just to point that out. All right, next up, Hallie Blanchard will introduce the second finalist. And these are a little out of order, but come on up, Hallie.
Hi, everyone. So, Mary. Hi, Mary. Please excuse, there was a little bit of miscommunication. You saw on the screen Ms. Galloway. If you know her, she's from Your Recovery Counseling. That's where I'll be next year. But Mary Bazzi is my field instructor currently. She's at Care Alliance in Central Cleveland. What can I say about Mary? So much. I would say that she's truly the embodiment of a change agent through and through. She's a macro practice girl, so she wants to maximize her impact, but she truly leads with compassion, and she's a person first type of social worker. No matter what your level of social work is, you can definitely learn something from Mary. She's a seasoned professional. She's incredibly compassionate. And as a mentor for me, she's been such an open book, just like sharing all of her wisdom and lived experience with me. She opens up her office for me to come in anytime and shadow her. I can pick her brain and talk her ear off as long as I want to. And it's just awesome. She truly has a unique way of energizing other people, including myself, and giving just the words of encouragement that I really needed to get me through the year. And things definitely that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life, personally and professionally. So some of you, if you don't already know her, go talk to her. You'd be lucky to know her in any capacity. She's truly a person of integrity and wholehearted dedication to the work. Incredibly powerful in the gentlest way. Thank you, Mary. You're the greatest. Thank you.
Thanks, Hallie. Next up, let's have Harley Rubin come up to talk about MJ Lawrence. Harley. And Harley just finished their second year in the program, soon to be graduate. And if you can send out some good vibes, they just said they have their licensure exam coming up soon. So.
Yeah, it's tomorrow, so you could do a little praying tonight. Hi, it's my pleasure to nominate MJ Lawrence for Outstanding Field Instructor Award. and I'd love to talk to you about why. In the first few days I spent at the Special Immunology Unit, the HIV/AIDS outpatient clinic of University Hospitals, MJ told me that it felt special and helpful to have another trans person in their workplace. As the internship went on, we got closer and we discussed our gender identities and our personal journeys of queer identity with each other. When my long-term partner and I broke up in early November, I was left with no one I felt comfortable being with for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and no one to take care of me after my gender-affirming surgery at the end of December. In queer communities, especially for people with dysfunctional families of origin like mine, the chosen family is a term used to describe the close relationships we develop as an adult. These are people who support us like family. After discussing ethics and setting clear boundaries, MJ invited me to spend Christmas at their house with their lovely wife, Bethany, and pets, Binks, Maisie, and Dinah, and to spend the first few days of surgery there as well. This was an incredible act of generosity, and it speaks to the support and empathy that MJ has given me as a student. They have gone above and beyond what is expected of a field supervisor, and we have had so many thoughtful conversations about ethics, values, self-care, queerness, and life goals. They firmly believe every client deserves equitable, competent care, regardless of socioeconomic status or rude behavior or any identity, and they live by this value. Outside of their full-time healthcare position, they work about 10 hours per week providing private practice therapy to LGBTQ+ clients, including free gender-affirming surgery letters. They also are not a supervisor or a manager within their clinic, but from the very beginning of my internship, I have seen them sought out for advice from coworkers daily. I even asked them if they were a supervisor. They have a truly inspiring career with long-lasting, empathetic connections to clients and coworkers. MJ has been a truly incredible field instructor this past year, and I'm so grateful that I was able to be their intern. I loved my internship at UH, but I'm also so excited that it's over. Now we can move on from the professional boundaries of the supervisory relationship to a continued friendship and mentorship in my career, and I look forward to their place in my life in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Harley. And thanks, MJ. All right, next up, we're going to have Chloe Scott and Shantae come up to talk about their field instructor, Courtney Clemens.
Hi, I'm Chloe. So it's my pleasure to nominate Courtney Clemens for the Outstanding Field Instructor Award. Here's why I nominated Courtney. When I started this journey to re-enter the classroom, I was very anxious, to say the least. However, supportive people like Courtney have made this experience both fun and challenging. Courtney is always there to support with support and guidance. She is diligent in trying to match students with the right placements so that they get the most out of their experience with the county. Courtney provides motivation and creative problem solvings when students are looking for support. She is there to listen to our complaints, which there are many sometimes, and cheer on our successes. She has been a great mentor and educator. She not only advocates for her students, but she also encourages us to advocate for ourselves. She has shown me that she is extremely knowledgeable and passionate about the field of social work. I know myself and many other students that work with her truly appreciate all the time and effort she puts into the work she does with us.
It is also my pleasure to nominate Courtney for the Outstanding Field Instructor Award. It's not about me, but just to give you a clear understanding why I have so much appreciation. As I enter into my field practicum, I've been with our agency for some time, and because I've been with the agency for some time, I've kind of been in a lot of departments, so I had some fear about getting what I needed, learning something new with the agency. And so I came to Courtney frustrated, and I came to Courtney with some demands. But Courtney was always calm, always smiling and so very knowledgeable. And she really shared my concern of getting all that I can get out the agency. And she took her time and she ensured that I get in a place where I will learn something new. And she did that. Courtney, Courtney was always professional, courteous, knowledgeable, and even my cheerleader. Because there were some times where I voiced to Courtney that I wanted to quit. And she never said out of her mouth, don't quit. But she always said, what is your passion? What do you want to do? And she always reminded me to, focus on that, focus on what we can do. And I really appreciate that because I really wanted to quit. Courtney has only been with our agency for maybe less than a year, and she has over 20 students that she have to care for, do, the field practicum stuff with. And that's impressive because at our agency, they tell you in training that it takes you at least 2 years to understand fully what you do. And Courtney not only manages one department, but several departments. And she has that knowledge and that understanding where she helped us understand the field work and the school work at the same time. And for me, that was very impressive. And again, she has an open door policy, and to have all those students and still have an open door policy. And I was calling her phone, I was emailing, and she was always there. She was never too busy, and I know that she was busy, but she always made time, and that is so impressive. And so I say thank you, Courtney.
Thank you, Shantae and Chloe. I forgot to mention Shantae and Chloe are both in our weekend format, having just finished their first semester of practicum. Yeah, so that's really neat to hear, especially considering where you're at. So thank you. And finally, we'll have Allie Pale come up to talk about her field instructor, Megan.
All right, I already saw some tear sheds of Megan, so like 2 more minutes, you can hang in there. So I walked into my first day at U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, and I was excited, nervous, and like experiencing the whirlwind of feelings that you get when you're starting something new. And I entered the office, took in the chaotic atmosphere, and a bubbly, blonde-haired, vibrant bundle of the most genuine human energy you could ever experience made her way over, enveloped me in a hug, smiling, and talking about how excited she was to have me as an intern for the year. That small gesture and those kind words ensured me that I was in the right place. Our energy matched so well, and developing a relationship of trust, respect, reciprocity, and empathy was all too easy. The person I described as Megan Spencer, my field supervisor, she took on 2 interns this year at USCRI and did so with grace and enthusiasm. She has an incredible amount of knowledge about the Cleveland community and is a role model for how to engage with community members around important issues, in this case, newcomers in the Cleveland area. While she often apologizes for the chaos, last-minute changes, and everything that is entirely out of her control, what she does not realize is that her flexibility and deep care for everyone around her makes her one of the best people I have ever worked with and met to date. Megan is an outstanding field supervisor for about as many reasons as the number of responsibilities she takes on that are not a part of her job description. She genuinely cares about the well-being of her students, works tirelessly to help us grow professionally and personally, and is willing to make just about anything happen if her students are interested in it. She helps expand our professional networks and does it all while laughing and smiling. On a more personal note, this semester was especially hard because my partner unexpectedly lost his job. And in the midst of our financial security crumbling, Megan jumped straight into action. She sent out his resume to her connections, checked in regularly about how we were both coping, and helped me secure a job at USCRI for the summer, and even empowered me to negotiate a higher pay rate. None of this was necessary or expected, but she did it without question. And this truly summarizes Megan's essence. When faced with someone else's suffering, Megan will do everything in her power and then some to alleviate any amount of stress or worry. And I can never thank her enough for that. So thank you for being such a bright light and an amazing human, and I'm beyond grateful to have met you and for having the privilege of being your supervisee.
Thanks, Allie, and thanks, Megan. The 4 of you who are here MJ, Mary, Courtney, and Megan, would you mind coming up so we can get a picture? And while they're coming up, let's do one more round of applause. Stand right in here.
Wait, we need the balloons.
That's a good lesson to pay attention to what's going on. Otherwise, you jump in and think you know what's going on and you don't. So, yeah. All right. Thanks again, the four of you. It is my honor to announce the Outstanding Field Instructor of 2024 is Mary Basie. Before we play a quick video, I just want to point out again that Mary serves as an external field instructor. And if any of you are externals, we're greatly appreciative of you. That happens when we don't have an MSW on staff at one of our practicum organizations. So we have an external person step in and provide social work field instruction. So if any of you are interested in doing that for our students in the future, feel free to come and find myself or Dean Parker, and we'd be happy to talk to you. But here's a quick video. Yeah, you're all set. Thanks. Yeah, Mary, if you want to come on over.
My field instructor, Mary Basie, is truly the embodiment of a change agent. Change absolutely follows Mary everywhere that she goes and in everyone that is around her. She is a pro at all levels of social work, and she is not greedy about holding on to her experience. She shares it like an open book. She opens up her office to me to come shadow and watch her do her thing, and then I can pick her brain for a few hours. So that's so great. I learned so much from her. Things personally and professionally that I will definitely carry with me for a long time, I believe. No matter the role that Mary finds herself in, she will dedicate her whole heart and soul to the work, and she will lead with compassion every step of the way. She makes an incredible impact in the lives of others and in mine, I will personally say. I'm so thankful for Mary. Words truly cannot describe, honestly. Her wisdom is out of this world. If you don't know Mary already, go talk to her, listen to her, and learn something, because you will be better off than you were before. Mary is the best. Thank you, Mary.
I just want to point out one more thing. Mary, we invite you to attend the commencement ceremony on May 17th, where Dean Voisin will recognize you as Field Instructor of the Year.
Where did we go?
And while we're getting this situated, just one more time, really, we appreciate all that you do as field instructors, not just for the individual students, but in terms of partners with us here at the Mandela School, and ultimately the role that you play in supporting the social work profession. I hope you feel some pride and a little bit of something in knowing that the support that you're providing our students right now then gets down to all the clients and communities that they're serving in their future as social workers. So thank you again.
All right, one more round of applause for Mary. All right. So just as we're about to wrap things up today, I just wanted to bring you all, bring your attention to this field education resource page that we have. We have things like our upcoming field instructor trainings on here. We have events, past trainings. We have our education manuals, helpful to Vera tutorials, and other tools and resources available, shadowing resources, things like that available for you. I'll let everybody take a picture and then I'll change the slide. Okay. Lastly, I wanted to let you know about some upcoming trainings. So this past year, we do track how many people we train, how many field instructors we train, and we have trained over 300 field instructors from the trainings that we have offered this year so far. So kudos to my team for doing that. And for you for joining. So next up on June 7th, Dr. Whitten, right here, you'll have a treat with her. She's going to be talking about competencies 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th during our Field First Fridays. So these are not CEUs. You do not get CEUs, but you can just, and you don't have to pre-register. You just join through Zoom, and you learn about different things that we have going on, and it's an open forum. So that's the first Friday of every month. And then our next training is June 21st. We have our ADEI field instructor training. So more on that, and you can go to our website to register. We don't have it up yet, but we will soon. So thank you all so much for coming and being here and supporting us and our students. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.